Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Q&A session for November 3rd, 2021. I'm Mark Dannenberg. Kristen Kane is with me tonight also. And we are here simply to be available to answer questions that you might have. Many of you are in the process of learning how to trade options, and you may be in the early stages of your learning. Many of you are in the process of learning how to effectively trade futures. Many of you are working through the process of learning how to interpret the adaptive entry system signals in the software that we provide through New Cycle Trading and Analytics. Wherever you are in your learning process, we want to make ourselves available to answer questions that you may have, provide clarifications so that you can continue to be an effective trader. I have a very simple philosophy that you as an individual trader, whether you're trading part-time, whether you're trading for a full-time income, whatever it might be, you are effectively a small business owner. Your business is trading. Your investment in your business is your learning, your tools that you need like software and computers and monitors and internet signal, internet connection. And we're here to help you support that. But if you treat it like a business and you have goals for your business, you have financial goals for your business, you have profit and loss goals for your business that you can evaluate on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, this is all about having the right attitude and knowing when you are on pace to hit whatever goal you may have had. So I've got a bunch of stuff that I normally go through here and some PowerPoint slides. Most of you have been with me for quite a while. So I'm just going to jump right to it. If you guys have questions, please post your questions. Go ahead and post your questions now, and we will jump to those. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about a couple of things here in general. I'm going to first of all start with AES. So the adaptive entry system is the software that New Cycle Trading provides, and you can have a subscription to that to get access to the trading signals that we feel are very effective at being able to trade. So I want to go through a few things with you. There's actually a comment out here by Kevin. Kevin wants to know a little bit more about the Aurora system, and I will talk about that. And just a comment Kevin made that the last couple of days have been difficult. Yeah, yes, in some respect, I want to just acknowledge that, but I want to share overall results. Now, thanks to Kristen, she maintains a database. She continues to maintain the database, and we record every single trade that we take throughout the day. And we're doing that now on both our Aurora system, which we're in the process of testing, validating, finalizing all the our comfort level with each aspect of the system, and also AES. So there's a couple things. I've gotten some comments recently or some questions recently about the challenges with AES, and I want to be very, very clear about this. I've talked about this before, but I want to be very clear. So I'm going to look at two things here. And we're going to look, first of all, at the performance tracking for AES, and I'm looking at the daily summary page. And the second thing we're going to look at is personal trading plan. So the personal trading plan, if you're not familiar with it, I'll explain a little bit more in a few minutes, but it's basically a way for you to keep track of your personal trade performance, and by plugging it in, the tool, the personal trading plan, will forecast for you what your annual income could possibly be. So first of all, I'm looking at 8:45 to 4. 8:45 to 4 is reasonable trading time. 8:45 is when we open the live trading room. We close the live trading room sometime around 2 o'clock, but we log trades until 4 o'clock. And I know many of you are trading throughout the entire day. Many of you will only trade the first hour, couple hours of the day, and others may come in a little bit later and trade. So we actually track 8:45 to 4. There's a couple of key numbers that I want to share with you because I think that they are very, very important in being able to understand what your performance opportunity is. If you look at 845 to 4, taking all of the AES signals, there's 4 of them, and adding to that fractal. So there's 5 total signals that you might be looking for throughout the day. We record what the total point production is on the NASDAQ 100 futures. Each point has a $20 value per contract, and we look at the entirety of the number of points that were accumulated. So we're going to have winning days, a lot of winning days. We're going to have a few losing days. But one of the things that we also look at is, and I give kudos to Erin, who is on maternity leave, but when she created the tracking tool for us, she built this feature in it that actually will look back at the entirety of the day and say, but what was the maximum profit or the maximum drawdown that we experienced during that day? Because you can have quite large ranges. And so what we focus on when we're communicating to those folks in the live trading room and kind of giving updates of where we are is we're going to tell you where we are at that certain point during the day. And then we're going to tell you, well, what was the highest high in terms of overall profitability? And the reason this maximum profit column is so important to us is because there are days where that number can be positive, have a nice positive gain some point during the day, and usually it's early in the day. And then by the end of the day, we actually, by recording every single trade, ended up losing for the day. So the losses for the day don't really bother me because it's this value right here. Well, what did we hit as a maximum profit value some point during the day? And as I said, our experience is that the majority of the time it's somewhat earlier in the day, probably somewhere in the 8:45 to 11, 8:45 to noon timeframe. And the reason that's important to me is because many of you use the personal trading plan. I applaud each of you who does. You invest a few minutes of your time every day to understand what your performance was for the day, plug it into your personal trading plan. And the personal trading plan is going to forecast forward what your potential profit and income could be for a year. And one of the key components there is understanding what your target is for the day. What is your goal for a profitable day? Many of you have a goal of taking 20 points a day. Some of you are looking for 25 points in a day. Some of you are looking for more than that. But just assume for a minute that you're looking for 20 points a day. 20 points a day on an average 20 trading day month is $8,000 a month. So 20 points times $20 per point is $400 a day, and $400 a day times 20 trading days in a month is about $8,000. Now that's per contract. So if you take that out to 12 months, that's just under $100,000 a year. And that can be achieved with a $5,000 starting balance in your account. All right, so we're going to go to the personal trading plan here in just a moment, but I want to point out a few things. So today we finished with 12.25 points. You might look at that and go, yeah, well, if I was trading that and my target was 20, I fell short. Well, actually, no, you didn't. Because earlier today, before we got into a little bit of a rough patch, by the way, there was a rough patch around 2 o'clock because the Fed was talking and it was just, I'm going to show you the chart here in just a minute. It was a wild ride. But earlier today, at one point, the highest profit that we had achieved for the day was 35.25 points. If you're looking for 20 points or 25 or 30 points, you were done. Most likely you stopped trading and you didn't give back the majority of your profits. So if I just keep going up the row here, I'm always looking for full losing days. And then I'm looking to see, well, at some point during the day, did we have wins that would have allowed us to not have a losing day, or our personal losing day? So here's another great example right here. We're up 21.5 points at some point during the day. That's enough for you to hit your 20 points. Maybe you had a little slippage. Your goal is 20 points. and you were satisfied with just closing it out for the day at 18 points. You're going to find those variables using the personal trading plan as a tool. By the end of the day, the overall system, adaptive entry system, was down 38 3/4 points. Well, there's no reason for you to have participated in that loss, in that drawdown, because at one point you were up more than your goal. Here's another great example. End of the day, down 5 3/4 points, but earlier in the day, up 45 points. And I can keep looking at this. Oh, this is a really great example. We finished the day down 5 points, but at one point earlier in the day, you were up 130 points. Now, I believe all of you would have been gone out on the golf course, out boating, riding your motorcycle, taking a walk with the dogs, whatever you love to do, you would have been gone. If your goal is 20, 25, or 30 points for the day, maybe you want to keep trading. That's a personal choice. But there was absolutely no reason for you to end up the day with a loss based on having a strong perception of what your goal is and where that was going to drive you to. And I can keep going through example after example. So here, the day before that, we were up 50 points and ended up the day down 14.5 points. Here's one we ended up 30 points and ended up the day down 23 3/4 points. So when I look at the average performance for 8:45 to 4 is 29.83 points. That's the blended average of all winning days and losing days. But I believe that you could actually perform better than that. That's a very solid average, by the way, and something that is going to meet most people's goals, most of the traders who I'm familiar with. But I believe you can actually perform better than that on a regular basis, because there are a lot of days like these examples I was sharing with you where you're up earlier in the day and you didn't end up giving back. Now, there are also days like this 130 point day where you're probably not going to participate in that extra 100 points because you know what your goal is. So let's jump over to the personal trading plan. Here we go. So the personal trading plan is a fairly simple tool, but it's got a lot of complex formulas, calculations that help us do something very, very simple. So what you do at the end of every day is plug in the dollar value of your performance for that day, and you plug in the total number of contracts that you traded that day. That's all you have to do. And then what this personal trading plan tool is going to do is it's going to calculate for you what your overall performance was for the day, what your net performance was, taking into account your commissions and fees. It's going to then keep track of your cumulative performance since you started. And it's going to give you a forecast, a projection of what your annual income could be, based on your current run rate. It's keeping track for you of your run rate. What are your profitable days? What's the average point value of your winning days? What's the average point value of your losing days? I was talking to somebody the other day and they were quite alarmed at how much bigger the losing day was than the winning day. But this is tracking out of 43 weeks, that we have in this 12-month personal trading plan. There have been 82 losing days. So we have far fewer losing days than we have winning days. And we're taking into account the loss of the losing days as well as the gain on the winning days. Then we plug those values into these forecast fields, and these are the values that we are assuming going forward, so that when you come in each day, if you're using this personal trading plan, you're looking at this value and go, okay, my goal today is to hit 34.44 points. Or you might have a value that's less than that. You might be using 20 points or 25 points, whatever it might be. You don't have to use the run rate value. You could use something less than that. If you use something more than that, It might be unrealistic. You might achieve it. It might be unrealistic though, because you haven't achieved that yet in your current performance. But if you wanted to forecast something less than that, there's no reason that you can't do that. So starting with $5,000 in this account, and assuming that we never trade more than 3 contracts, because all of the numbers that I have just given you off of the performance is based on a single contract, and we're willing to graduate up to 3 contracts, the personal trading plan is going to increment up to your maximum number of contracts. And it's going to do so based on what percentage of the total balance of the account that we are willing to allocate to trades. We have it set at 10%. So 10% of the balance of the account will be allocated to the trades in order to get us to our goal. And then all of that data combined is going to tell you approximately what your income might be after 52 weeks. Now, we're getting close. I mean, we're 43 weeks into this particular plan, and this is the 845 to 4, including fractals, all adaptive entry system signals and plus fractals. And starting with $5,000, it's really on pace to be about $150,000 of income. And we've got another 9 weeks to go. But the closer we get to the end of the 12 months, the less likely it is that you're going to run into significant changes in that number. I mean, if it goes up 10,000 or it goes down 10,000, that's not really a big deal in my mind. You remember, you're starting with $5,000, trading a maximum of 3 contracts, and right now the forecast for 12 months is $150,000 income. So I'm going to just kind of digress here just for a minute. One of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest barriers, one of the biggest stumble points between starting with 5,000 and ending with 150,000 is the emotional hurdle every single trading day. If this was your account and you started with $5,000, you're allocating 10% of the balance to the number of contracts, you've got a maximum of 3 contracts, and you're looking for 34 points of profit in a day. When you have a day like this, and remember, these values are all based on the full day, so they don't recognize the fact that we might have been positive on that day earlier, all right? But just stay with me for a minute on this. When you have that 83.6 point losing day, it is an emotional challenge. You feel like, oh my God, I just gave back, so much of my profits. And you go through this emotional roller coaster of, I don't feel very good about that. And it's been challenging. And traders, in my opinion, tend to be very, very, very narrowly focused on now. It doesn't matter that your personal trading plan shows you, yeah, but if I continue to do everything that I have done to date, including all my wins and losses, I'm on pace to go from 5,000 to 150,000. You tend to forget that in the emotional moment, because it's a very emotional business that we are in. And I don't know any way around it. I've taught people how to set the emotion aside. I have to teach myself that sometimes, just because you get irritated, you get upset, you get bothered because what you felt you had in your hand, all of a sudden you had to give back some of it. Right there, what I'm describing right now is one of the main reasons that we designed the personal trading plan. Because at any point in time, you can plug in where you are during the day. You could plug in your individual performance, whether it's a loss so far today or a win so far today, and you're going to immediately see what the overall impact is to your 12-month forecast. I think it's very powerful. And so it should alleviate some of that anxiety, some of that emotion, some of that, I just can't do this, or it doesn't feel very good. No, it actually feels great when you get into the flow of understanding and you apply yourself and apply a certain amount of discipline to following the rules, following the signals, and sticking to your target. that's when it's going to feel good. And you're going to have losing days. Guaranteed you're going to have losing days. If I ever can create a system that has no losing days, I will let you know. It'll be our secret, but that's not going to happen, I believe. So what we're looking for is opportunities to take far more profits than we take in losses, and to look at how our run rate is impacting our ability to generate a profit. So let me look at one other category. This category is 845 to 4. It's the adaptive entry system signals and fractals, but it is limiting to a daily profit target of 20 points. And we stop. We have a hard stop if we hit 60 points of loss. Now, the reason we have this category is because Erin, before she went on maternity leave, did an extensive amount of research, kind of looking for the optimum point of stopping. People asked us all the time, well, how many points should I be looking for? My answer was always, well, look at your established run rate. And while you're building your run rate, first of all, you should have built some of your run rate in sim for like 2 to 3 months. But, look at your run rate. If you're still building your run rate, then you can rely on some of the data that we've provided. But she was looking at the optimum level of performance, and it came down to this. Look for 20 points of profit. And if you get to 60 points of loss, stop. And by doing so, we start this account with $5,000. We're allocating 10% of the balance of the account to contracts. We're willing to scale up to 3 contracts. Now, we have 1 year behind us. In the first 12 months, of this 20, we call it AES 20, of this AES 20 plan, we went from $5,000 to $96,671. So that was the first 12 months. We are now 11 weeks into the second 12-month period. And according to our run rate, scaling up to a maximum of 3 contracts, the current forecast for a 52-week plan, which is our second 12-month period, is right now forecasting an income of $99,579. So pretty consistent. So basically, I'm looking at this and saying, listen, we're into our second year of this. Each year we started with $5,000. We took the account back down to $5,000 after the first year, and we hope to grow it to, again, almost $100,000. I don't know what that number is going to be. We've only got 11 weeks under our belt. We've got quite a ways to go. We got 41 weeks to go. And so that value could change. But one of the advantages we have here is that we already have a precedent for what we did in the first 12 months. So some people will say to me, yeah, but what do you do when the market really changes? What do you do when the market's volatile? What do you do when the market's not volatile? I can guarantee you that in the last now 63 weeks, we've been through every one of those scenarios. Large volatility, small volatility, challenging, choppy markets, trending nowhere, big moves out of nowhere, lots of information coming into the market. We've encountered all of that. So the longer we go, the more confident I am in the performance of the system. And this is just simply AES 20. You're looking for 20 points, or if you get to 60 loss, it's a day that you might not feel very good, but it's just part of the process. That's what we're on pace for right there. So this is a personal trading plan. If you're not familiar with the personal trading plan, I think you ought to check it out on our website. And I think everybody should have a personal trading plan. As a small business owner, it's like sitting in your office someplace, if a retail store owner or a truck service store, a garage owner, whatever your business might be, almost every small business is looking at some tool like QuickBooks or some way to assess, well, how are we doing? How many sales did we have? How many clients left? What's our client retention rate? What's our expenses? You can see all of what you need to for your trading business, to manage your trading business effectively, right here on your personal trading plan. Right, I'm going to pause there for a minute. I've got more I could chat about, but before we get into anything about Aurora, which is our new system, I'm going to pause there and say hello to Kristen.
Hello there.
How are you, Kristen?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And also just see what kind of questions we have at this point.
So we do have a couple of questions on the tracker and the PTP. So Mario's asking on the max profit column, can you do an average on the max profit column to see what an average max profit is, thinking that might help pick a target for the day?
You're talking about doing an average on the max profits. Yeah, it's a calculation. We might be able to do that. This is kind of Erin's baby, and so we might wait until she gets back for that.
Yep, you're not allowed to touch it until she gets
Yeah,
back.
she told me I wasn't allowed to touch it. She told Kristen, "Well, you could do this, Kristen," because she trusts Kristen. I don't quite understand that.
And then one more question on the tracker. Does the LTR all tab mean no fractals?
That's exactly what it means. LTR all is no fractals, and it's 9:30 to noon. It's a different time frame. So that 9:30 to noon category, taking just the 4 adaptive entry system signals, excluding fractals, it's the same scenario. Start with $5,000. We're 17 weeks into this year. The prior year, we did $103,308. Maximum contracts are 3. Of course, you can increase or decrease that. And right now, the current year, second year, we're 17 weeks into the second year forecast, is $87,864 based on the current run rate. But that's not taking fractals. And based on today, I'd rather not ever take a fractal again. It's just, oops, there I let my emotions come through. Oh, it was just annoying today on a couple of fronts, but it's all right.
Definitely. So the only other question we have out there is, oh wait, so we have the Aurora question out there, but before we jump into that, Mario is agreeing that fractals have been brutal the past couple of weeks.
Well, have they been though?
Let's
I
look.
I
We
don't
can do that,
know.
right?
Erin lets me do this. Let's just see what fractals have done the last couple of weeks. So we're going to change that to fractals. We're going to just look at 8:45 to 4. Overall, for the 322 trading days we have, fractals are averaging $220 a day per contract with about a 77% win rate. That doesn't sound too bad. Now, maybe recently it's been a little more challenging. Now, well, fractals were down 36 points today, but at one point today, they were up 25 points, and that's almost always earlier in the day. So I would, let's see here, 25, 22. Yesterday was nothing to write home about. Yeah, you know, kind of flat there. Lost there. They haven't been real earth-shattering, but I wouldn't say that they've been brutal. Today, the way we were trading fractals on the Aurora system, it was a little challenging, but overall they're not too bad. That's the way I view it.
All right. We only have one other question out there, and it's the question with an update on Aurora.
No, there's a few you're missing. There's a few other questions out there that only I can see. All right, so let's talk about Aurora a little bit. Aurora is not a system that you have access to yet, but I've been talking about it and people are curious about it. And one of the reasons I've been talking about it is that we are working towards, we being Kristen and I, diligently working towards a point where we can release this for those of you who might have an interest. A couple of key things about Aurora. We'll explain all this once we're ready to release it. You'll have an opportunity to kind of read through and understand, what the performance has been. But Aurora is a system. It's a comprehensive system, and AES, adaptive entry signals, are embedded within the Aurora system. So what you're seeing here is our view of the Aurora system. And you can see here that the 5-minute adaptive entry system signals present themselves there. And there are some things that are familiar to you here. We've got the Cycle Finder Plus, we've got the Awesome Oscillator, we've got the Profit Flow Oscillator, and then there's 2 sets of signals which you're not familiar with down here, called CXA and PBA up here. CXA and PBA are the core of the Aurora system. And we're looking across multiple timeframes. So this is really a systems approach. So rather than just exclusively trading the 5-minute chart, we look at 10-minute, 15-minute charts, 5-minute, 3-minute, and that's pretty much the range that we look at. Now, Aurora also has some applications, which I'll talk about here in just a minute, to trading options on stocks and indexes and ETFs, but I'll talk, and also cryptocurrency, but I'll talk about that here in just a minute. So the signals present themselves much like adaptive entry system, and we just follow the signals, and then we record the performance of those signals. And what we're doing is actually we've been using different versions, different iterations of the personal trading plan, and we actually just refreshed the personal trading plan and started one this week. And we are looking forward 3 months, and we have some goals in mind. So Kristen and I have goals, and before I state what the goal is, I want to be very clear. This is being recorded, so if you ever accuse me of saying something different, I can pull up the recording. I am not promising, I am not guaranteeing, I am not stating that this is going to happen. But we have a goal, and it's a fairly aggressive goal. And Aurora, I believe, is going to allow us to achieve this. But our goal is simply, we'd like to, again, no guarantees, no promises, no commitments, no Mark said he's going to, none of that, okay? Did you get that, Kristen? None of that?
I have it in the transcript.
Okay. Our goal is simply to make $1 million in 3 months. We want to make $1 million in 3 months. Now, we might fall short. We might beat it. But, my attitude about this type of a goal, and I'm going to tell you how we're structuring it to possibly set ourselves up to achieve that goal. If we fell short and did only 25% of that, I'd probably be pretty happy. But our goal is to see if we can't achieve $1 million in 3 months. There's a couple of key things that we're going to use to do that. First of all, the Aurora system. I have notes up here on the personal trading plan that Kristen and I are using. This is the Aurora system trading from 7 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have been tracking, so there's a lot of people that will ask me, so have you back tested this? I rarely, folks, do back testing. We do forward testing. We literally start trading in sim, we refine our approach, then we shift to live trading. We continue to refine our approach, but the only way, in my mind, this is my opinion, but the only way you're ever going to really validate whether a system is something that I would want to trade or I would want to offer to you to trade, because it's not going to be free. So there's got to be value in it. The only way I know to do that is to trade it live in forward testing. Back testing misses a lot of nuances of decisions that you make and choices that you make, and it's just not as reliable, in my opinion. Okay, so the system, the Aurora system, we've been now trading it live for 72 trading days. It's not a long period of time, but 72 trading days, not calendar days. So, we're approaching month 4. 104.5 points is our winning day average. And we have had 58 winning days out of 72 days. 58 days out of 72 days have been winning days. And those winning days are averaging 104.5. That is just simply turning off your emotions, taking the signals. And when you get into some of those choppy periods, there is, a signal to go long, then there's a signal to go short, and there's a signal to go long, and you don't get exasperated, you don't get frustrated, and you just do it. That's what that is. The losing days for 14 of 72 days is averaging 54.18 points. So here's what we do. And I think that this is really a very, I'm going to say it's very smart, because it was based on a conversation Kristen and I explored through. I hear loud and clear from some of you who go, yeah, but I have slippage, and yeah, but I didn't get the fills that you have. You're absolutely right. Slippage is just a part of the game. We have slippage, and we will, Kristen and I we're talking to each other all day long throughout the day, 7 to 2, and talking about the trades and talking about slippage. And oh my God, I got 2 points of slippage on that trade. Now what am I going to do? Well, it's just part of the game, folks. It is just part of the game. So what we do is we take the full system average, the winning average, and we assume that we might only achieve 80% of that. So we've got 20% of the winning daily average that we're just carving out to say, well, I might have missed a trade. Maybe I got up to take a break or get something to eat, or the dog barked and I missed a trade, or I had slippage. So we're factoring 80%. I personally believe that is a conservative approach. So for our winning day average, we're using 83.6 points. Now, we're not going to see our run rates compared to this yet, because as I said, we just relaunched, reset our PTP today. I'm sorry, this week on Monday. And we've had, we have not actually hit our 80% average for the week. Today was, I'm going to show you something about that, but today the 7 to 2 was not a good performance. But I know that for the last 72 days, this is our winning day average, and this is our losing day average. I'm also willing to trade up to way more than 3 contracts. So we are going to scale up to maybe as much as 20 contracts, maybe only 10 contracts. We'll just kind of see as the trading develops. But right now we've got it set at 20, because if I look at the end of January, having started November 1st, so that's November, December, January, the forecast, just simply based on the system averages, is 1,116,000. Now, I'm picking a challenging period to do this in too. We've got 3 holiday weeks between now and the end of January. The week of Christmas is never a good trading week. The week of Thanksgiving is always a little dicey. So I don't know. What we're going to hit here, but I've got that out there as a goal. So every day we come in and go, okay, what's our goal today? Well, we're at 1 contract. We've scaled to 1 contract so far. And so our goal is $1,672 for the day. Okay. We've got a losing day built in every week. We've got 1 losing day built in every week. And once we establish our run rate, we'll be able to calculate what the actual occurrence rate of losing days is versus winning days. So like I said, the goal is $1 million a quarter being in 3 months, not necessarily a calendar quarter. So if we hit it, that's awesome. that's really incredible. And Krista and I will get together and celebrate and have a great time. If we don't, but we came up short of that, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. So here's a couple of things that I like to do. And by the way, we're starting with $10,000 in the account. Here's what I like to do. All right, so, what if we don't hit 83? What if we only hit, say, 63? Oops, 63 as an average. Well, I just can't key tonight. There we go. What if we hit 63 as an average? What if we hit 50% of the system average for the winning days? That'd be 52. That would be 52, okay? That's $500,000 if I'm willing to trade up to 20 contracts. What if I wasn't willing to go over 10 contracts? That's almost $300,000 for a quarter. So that's like a $1.2 million run rate for a year. It's actually 1.5 with the scaling for 12 months. So any one of those numbers I'd be delighted with, given where we start with 10,000 and how quickly we might be able to scale to that. But I want to leave my goal out there. I want to know every day what my goal is. And I'm willing to trade up to 20 contracts. Now, at first, I was planning on trading up to 30 contracts, but I don't need that in order to hit my goal. So I'm going to scale back down to 20 contracts. That's how I use the personal trading plan. I look at the data that I have. I look at how the system's been performing. I look at the opportunity with AES and Aurora, which AES is embedded within Aurora. And that's the opportunity. Now, I want to come back over here to one thing. I said today was a challenge, 2860. 2860, okay, negative. And if I go to, nope, that's not what I wanted, sorry. If I go to 7 to 2, 2860, so we traded today right until 2 o'clock. But earlier today, we were up 1760. We're up 1760. And what did I tell you my goal was? 1672. Now this is where Kristen calls me and goes, how come you're not stopping? Because there's more opportunity. So this reflects what we actually did. And yet if we had stopped when we hit our goal today, so I'm just being completely transparent and telling you that I violated my own rule and the rule that I teach each of you to follow, because we're up 1700, we hit our goal today. There's really no reason at all for us to have had a loss. So anyway, that's what happened. And even though we hit that loss, if we can stay on target, if we can hit our 80% of system winning day average, well, then we're still on pace to achieve the $1 million. So Mervin, I hope you're joking about that. Mervin just asked, what about slippage? Did you just join us, Mervin, or were you not paying attention? That's the whole reason I explained why we're only using 80% of the system winning day average, 83.6. That sets aside 20% of what the system has actually done and how it's performed to compensate for slippage or missing a trade here or there or making some other decision that was not aligned with the system. So I'm going to assume, Mervin, that you missed that explanation. So that's where we are. There's a question here about, well, when do we plan on releasing Aurora? The tentative time frame right now is the first couple weeks of the new year. I don't feel it's effective to release it now with 3 holiday weeks in front of us. People start getting distracted with the holidays, and we need to finalize a few things. We need to put our training and curriculum together to make sure that we effectively teach this to you, but the way we're going to release it will be a combination of training and live signal support in the live trading room. And we'll let you know how that's going to play out. Oh, Deborah, thank you for asking. Erin and her new baby girl, Luna Rose, are doing very well. I was out there to visit them 2 weeks ago and met Luna for the first time. And it's just, it's really nice to see Erin just so happy with Luna, and they're doing all well. You know, Paul, Erin, Luna, they're all doing very well. So thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much for that. I'll pass that along to Erin. Rod's saying, for planning purposes on our side, how much will Aurora cost? I haven't set the price yet, Rod, but it's going to be slightly more than, well, it's going to be either the same price as the adaptive entry system, and it may be you know, something that current subscribers get to add to, or somewhere between that and $200 or $300 more than that, more than the adaptive entry system. So what I've always tried to do, and I think you've been around long enough to know this, what I've always tried to do is to price things in a manner that I believe it's realistic that you can recover your investment in a reasonable amount of time, 1 to 2 days. So if I look back at the system performance, 7 to 2, and the 72 days that we have out there, in 72 days, the system has generated $75,000 of profits. That's per contract. That's a single contract. So that's not scaling contracts like we do in the personal trading plan. And the average is about $1,000 a day. So I'm not saying that this is the price, but just hypothetically, if I said, well, it's going to be, you know, $1,000 a month for Aurora and AES all in, then based on the averages, you should be able to make that back in a day, but averages don't always hold. You have certain periods of time that the averages are accelerated, and other times the averages are decreased because you've got more challenging days. So if you adopted the Aurora system for $1,000 and it took you 2 days to make that back, you got 18 days of mostly upside potential for you. So I haven't arrived at the price yet. We're really working on the last parts and pieces of making sure that we've got it all dialed in so that we can help you be as efficient and effective as possible. That answer your question, Rod? It was kind of an answer without giving you a specific answer because I haven't really settled on anything yet. I've been more focused on wanting to make sure that it's working effectively, the way we designed it, the way we intended. And then the price will be the right price. It's not going to be overly expensive. And it's going to, the intention is to give you an opportunity to not only recover your monthly fee easily, but really build some strong upside. I won't let Kristen decide the price. She'd give it away.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, see, I'm right.
Just want everybody to be happy.
Yes, Kristen's just, she, as long as y'all sing Kumbaya with her, she'll be happy.
Rod's with me.
Well, you'll have to work on Kristen then, Rod. Yeah, Jack, no, I understand. You're in the process of transitioning your current business. Yeah, so we'll just wait for the release, Jack, and you'll see what the pricing is for that. While we're waiting to see here if there are any other questions, I just want to comment about one of the things that we're just really starting to dig into more specifically, and that's on using the Aurora system and specifically the PBA signal and the CXA signals, mostly PBA, with stocks and trading options. So if I just scroll back here on Amazon, Amazon's one of my favorites here, and it's got a lot of opportunity to it. But if I just scroll back here, and you're going to see some alignment with AES signals, and you're also going to see some periods of time where the Aurora system signal comes in ahead of AES, or maybe it comes in after the AES signal. But I actually had an example I was going to show you, and I forgot exactly where it was, but the AES signal came on and it would have stopped you out for 20 points on an NQ trade. And then the Aurora system signal came on, and that's when it really took off. So it's intended to take into account the AES structure, AES signals, and the integrity of those signals, as well as being able to more effectively time the entry. So this just, is, I'm going to just kind of go through these here quickly, but every time there's a new red print, you would buy a put on Amazon, and then you're going to hold that for a specific profit target, or if you're not out of it to hit after you've hit your profit target, then you're going to close it on a new blueprint and you're going to buy a call. So you're just going to roll it into a call. So, here's an example. And with Amazon, I've seen a pretty strong, reasonable possibility of the stock moving 20 points, and assuming that you buy an at-the-money option, which has a 50 delta to it, that means you'd have 10 points of profit. And on an options contract, which represents 100 shares of stock, 10 points of profit to you is $1,000 of profit. And I've seen that be pretty much an easy average, $1,000 a day. It's actually $1,000 to $1,500 a day. We've got one of our coaching clients is doing some Amazon trading and has done reasonably well with it, but just kind of getting acquainted with how to trade Aurora on these signals. So, here's a short position. Amazon opened at 34.40. It went down to as low as 3,400. Well, that's a 40-point move in the underlying stock. That would be 20 points of profit, or $2,000. But you might have your profit target set to take $10 of profit. So there's $1,000 of profit on that trade. Here's one where you'd go long and 34.28. Long at 34.28, you're holding, and then you're out here at 34.21. All right, you lost 7 points, which translates to about 3-4 points of loss on that trade, and then you're short here. Actually, right at the market open, you're short here at 34.21. Nice, easy $1,000, 10 points of profit. Here's another one that you'd get back into at 1:30 in the afternoon. Another nice, easy $1,000 of profit. Here's one, didn't work out as well. You ended up with a small loss on that, and then you went long. And don't let this thing deceive you. You're long here. You're still staying long despite the fact that you've got red short AES trend bias. You ignore that. You're going to stay long with the blue. And here, look at that nice pop to the upside. So there are some opportunities that are bigger than 10 points of profit. There are some times where it might be less than that, but you'll gain some experience with this if you decide to start trading Amazon, if you adapt yourself to the Aurora system. Today was really, sorry, that was yesterday. yesterday, if you wanted to hold overnight, you don't always need to do that. But if you decided to take the trade yesterday afternoon at 4:30, sorry, 2:30, and held overnight, you're in at 32.94. And today it went up to a high of 33.90. Actually, it went up to a high of 33.94. So it went up 100 points. That's a $5,000 profit if you manage to catch the high. Nobody's going to catch the highs and lows. I'm just saying that's a $5,000 profit opportunity. And there are ways to continue to move your stop higher as you're progressing towards a higher level of profit. But there was a $5,000 opportunity. Even if you just took the 10 points of profit, it's $1,000 there. So there's $1,000 yesterday. There's $1,000 today. It's pretty reasonable opportunity here. So Mario is asking, with the cost of Amazon options, can you do debit spreads as well on a smaller account? Yeah, the signals are the signals, Mario. You can choose whatever strategy you want to incorporate. And if a debit spread or a credit spread is more manageable for you based on account size, yeah, that's fine. This is just telling you when you should open the position. You have to decide based on your understanding of option strategies what you prefer to trade. But I'm just curious if anybody wants to share with me, how many of you actually trade cryptocurrency? How many of you watch crypto and trade it? Maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I'm just curious because I've never actually asked the folks in this community. I'm going to switch over to Bitcoin. These signals don't really care what you're looking at. They don't really care what you're looking at. All they care about is whether or not you should go long or short. So here's Bitcoin. Michael says, no, but if you show some good signals, I'd be open to it. Pam saying yes, trading, investing cryptos and futures. Okay, excellent. So, here's Bitcoin, and I'll be, 100% transparent. I don't trade crypto, but I've been watching the signals on the charts. I've got a good friend who trades crypto. He is, he started with a $50,000 account in January across multiple coins, and he's up to $250,000 now. And so we've been talking about my software too as a way to help him, because that if that's all he can do right there, that's pretty. I was going to say something snarky, but that's actually pretty darn good. But anyway, you can look at the signals here, the same PVA signals or even the CXA signals, and you can see how it tells you when to get into Bitcoin, when to get out, or when to go short on Bitcoin. And then you'll have these periods like we had on NQ today, where it's just not doing anything. And there's a whole bunch of signals back and forth. You make a little, you lose a little, you make a little, you lose a little, but you stay the course, because what you're looking for is the ones that give you the bigger moves. That's really what you're looking for. So if we go all the way back here to, you would have been long in Bitcoin at 61,128. It went up to a high of 64,300. So that's a pretty decent move up. And you would have been out here and short at 63,488. So about 2,300, 2,300. So that's very reasonable. And I've seen a lot of activity on Bitcoin. That's where I'm kind of starting my focus when it comes to cryptocurrency. Ethereum is the same. You can look at the signal, go short. You can look at the signal, go long. Should have been short here about an hour ago. You can look at Litecoin, same thing. I haven't really looked at any of the other more oddball cryptos, but these are the three main cryptos that I've been keeping track of. So when we have a little more capacity, we may start profiling more of those trades for you, particularly those of you in the live trading room. We may do some of that, but we've got options available to us. We've got futures available to us. We've got crypto available to us. And all of it is based on the Aurora system opportunity. Lyle's asking if we're trading Aurora starting at 7 a.m. Generally, we start at 7, yes. We start at 7 a.m. and we trade until 2 o'clock. Sometimes we quit earlier. I should have quit earlier today, but you know, we've had days where we hit our target before the regular market session opens. So we're done trading for the day. Kristen, anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
It's a really great system, in my opinion. Now, I have a little bias because I've been investing a lot of time in helping to refine it. Craig with New Cycle Trading really helped us with some core signals. And now we're here, and we've been, you know, taking time to forward test. Rod's saying when trading Aurora, your target is still 20 points. Nope, Rod, our target based on trading from 7 to 2 and based on 80% of our system averages from Aurora, our target is 83.6 points. 83.6 points. That's the target that we have for the day.
I don't think we have probably, if Rod's referring to how Aaron uses the AES, can't come up with all that research to come up with the AES 20, we probably don't have, haven't done the time to see if there's that, you know, that
optimum
one
number.
particular point. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But I think that 80% of our overall average is very reasonable target.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
I said, if we fall short of that, 83.6 with 20 contracts gets us to $1.1 million in 3 months. If we did half of that, we'd be delighted. But you got to have a goal out there, I think. So that's the goal that we have. I would love to just get on a regular run rate of $1 million a quarter. Okay, that's where we'd like to get to. And I can see just simply from the mathematics of it and understanding the system that it's very doable. I need to be willing to trade up to 20 contracts. I don't have a concern about that. It's whether or not we start to stumble a little bit more than we've seen in the last 72 days. And I'm not expecting that, because we'll figure out, you know, what little tweak or adjustment we need to make in order to keep us on track. Pam is bringing up a point. Our website says that we're not accepting new members in the live trading room right now. Is that accurate? Yes and no, Pam. We made a shift here a couple months ago, and instead of charging a subscription fee for the live trading room, we had a lot of people in the room who, you know, were in the room paying for their attendance and kind of looking over our shoulder at the adaptive entry system signals. So we made a shift, and in the live trading room, there's no longer currently a charge for the live trading room. But in order to have access to the live trading room, you have to have an adaptive entry system signal subscription. So if you have an AES subscription, then you can join us in the live trading room. But Pam, just to be clear, we don't call out the signals, every signal like we used to when Aaron was still here. We don't feel like we need to call out every signal. We are available to clarify understanding. We show charts just so that you can make sure that your charts are lined up with ours. And we're available. Kristen and or I are available to answer questions during the day. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Lyle's just saying that his goals are similar in terms of financial goals, similar to ours. And he's been trading up to 15 contracts, but usually 5 to 10. That's a strong position right there, Lyle. So, I mean, if you look at a personal trading plan and you use our personal trading plan, and if you're willing to say trade up to 15 contracts and whatever, forecasted value that you want to use, when you have access to Aurora, maybe you want to use the Aurora value. Maybe you want to use something less than that. But if you trade up to 15 contracts with the Aurora, 80% of the system production, that's $863,000 over the course of 3 months. And like I always say, be happy if you did half of that. Kind of have this running joke with Kristen. I said, Kristen, you don't want to get to the end of 3 months and sit around having a beer with your friends and say, well, we failed because we only did $500,000 in 3 months. But we'll see what it is. Whatever it is, right? It's going to be whatever it's going to be. Between now and then, there's going to be some really great days, and there's going to be some challenging days. Between now and then, I'm going to miss a trade now and then, and I'm going to be annoyed. Between now and then, I may hold on to a trade longer than I originally planned and make more than I had originally thought. There's all sorts of variables, but sticking strictly to the system profit production and using 80% of that, that's the goal right there. It's 83.6 points in a day. All right, folks, I don't see any other comments or questions out there. I do sincerely appreciate you being here and appreciate you being part of our community of traders. It's feels good that we can help you be on the right track and accomplish whatever your goal is. So between the adaptive entry system and hopefully Aurora coming the first couple of weeks of the new year, and then the personal trading plan, those tools are your guide to achieving whatever you desire. Those tools will guide you to whatever you desire if you if you exercise the discipline of following the signals and doing what's right. And then we've got education programs. If you're a futures trader and want to learn more about options trading, we've got options trading programs. If you're an options trader and want to learn more about futures, we can teach you how to trade futures effectively. So that's all I've got. Kristen, thank you for being here.
You bet.
And we'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll have the live trading room open no later than 8:45 a.m. Eastern. And we'll be available to answer any questions or thoughts you might have. So have a great rest of your night. Oh, Lyle, thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thanks, Pam. Appreciate that. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.